Hello and welcome to Biz Help for You with Candy Messer, where my goal is to educate you on things necessary in your business to help you succeed. Today, I'm diving into payroll, one of the most critical responsibilities for any business owner. If you're a new employer, or even if you've been in business for a while but want to make sure you're doing payroll right, this episode is for you.
Welcome to Biz Help for You, the show that saves you the expensive learning curve by providing advice from industry experts in every facet of the entrepreneurial journey. Too many small businesses collapse. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 20% fail within their first year, and less than 35% make it to their 10th anniversary. The goal of this podcast is to change that statistic. So if you're interested in learning more to be a successful entrepreneur, tune in today.
Payroll isn't just about paying your employees, it's about staying compliant with labor laws, managing taxes correctly, and avoiding costly mistakes. So let's break it down step by step. The first thing I want to discuss is setting up your payroll. So before you ever cut a paycheck, you need to set up your payroll properly. Here's what that looks like. Number one, obtain an employer identification number, also known as an EIN. This is like a social security number for your business, and you'll need it for tax purposes. You can get one from the IRS website. If you've filed tax returns in the past for your business using your social security number, you will need to register for an EIN. But if you're an entity such as an S corporation or LLC, and you're just now adding staff, you already have an EIN. So then there would not be a need to apply. Number two, register with state and local agencies. Each state has its own registration requirements for unemployment insurance, state withholdings, and other taxes. Some states have one tax agency to pay each type of employment tax to, but some have one agency for withholding tax and one for unemployment. Be sure to check the requirements for each state that you have staff working from. Number three, choose a payroll system. You can do it manually, although I don't recommend this process, or you can use software such as QuickBooks or other software that's available. And of course, you can outsource to a payroll provider such as ourselves at Affordable Bookkeeping and Payroll. Next, make sure you classify your workers properly. This is a big one. Employees and independent contractors are taxed differently, and misclassifying a worker can result in hefty fines. The IRS has specific guidelines on who can be paid on a 1099 and who must be hired as an employee. And some states have even more strict standards. Be sure to check the regulations for any state that you have workers to make sure you pay them correctly. Number two, you need to understand labor laws. Now, payroll isn't just about the money that you pay to your staff, it's also about following the rules. So some things you need to keep in mind as it comes to the employment laws include minimum wage and overtime. The Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, sets federal rules, but many states have higher minimum wages and stricter overtime laws. Make sure you check the regulations in your state. For instance, federal law states overtime is after working 40 hours in a week, but California has that anything over 8 hours worked in a day is subject to overtime. Note that there are many more labor laws to follow, which isn't really the focus of this particular episode, but be sure to research which ones apply and follow all of the guidelines. And again, the guidelines you must follow are based on where your employee lives and works. So even if your company is located in one state, if you have remote employees working in another, you do need to follow the guidelines for that particular state. Payroll frequency. Generally, in most cases, you can pay staff biweekly, which is every other week, or semi-monthly, twice a month. In some situations, you may be able to pay once a month, but this is rare and it's usually for management. And although weekly is not required in some instances, you may be required to be on a weekly pay schedule, especially if paying for manual labor or your employees are part of a union. Once again, it's important just to check the regulations specific to your business and location to make sure that you are paying your employees on time. Final paycheck laws. If an employee quits or is fired, you may need to issue their final paycheck immediately. Many states allow final pay to be issued with the next usual pay cycle, but some states require it on the last day if notice was given, or within 72 hours if the employee didn't notify you they were leaving your employment. Once again, I encourage you to research the laws in the states where your staff are working. And it's important to keep track of wage garnishments as well. So if an employee has a court-ordered deduction, you're responsible for handling them correctly if you have received notice. Garnishments can be for child support, past due tax balances, or other court-ordered debt. Do not ignore these notices you receive, or you could be held liable for non-compliance. Now let's get into the actual processing and running of payroll. So here's what you need to do. Number 1, collect employee information. Have new hires fill out a W-4 form for tax withholding and an I-9 to verify their right to work. Be sure to inspect the documents they provide to make sure they meet the requirements. If paying through direct deposit, have the employee provide a signed authorization and provide you routing and account numbers. Calculate gross wages. If they're hourly, total up their hours worked and multiply by their hourly rate. If they're salaried, divide the annual salary by the number of pay periods. There's also a misconception that those on salary are not subject to overtime, but this is wrong information in many cases. If your workers on salary don't meet exemptions, and if they work more than the maximum number of hours per day or week, be sure to include overtime in their pay as well. Number 3, you have to withhold taxes and deductions. So this includes federal and state income tax, Social Security, Medicare, and benefit deductions like health insurance or retirement plans. States also have amounts withheld from employees' paychecks, including withholding and sometimes other local taxes as well. Number 4, be sure to pay your taxes on time. The IRS and states have guidelines for how quickly you must pay your taxes. If you owe less than $2,500 in the quarter, you can pay the IRS the tax due every 3 months. Many small businesses meet the monthly schedule, which allows you to pay your tax from 1 month by the 15th of the following month. If your total liability in the look-back period, which is July of one year to June of the next, is $50,000 or more, you are a semi-weekly depositor, and taxes are due within a few days of the pay date. If your pay date falls on a Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, taxes are due the following Wednesday. If the pay date is Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, the tax is due on Friday. Number 5, issue payments to your staff. Whether you're using direct deposit or paper checks, be sure your employees are paid on time. And take into consideration the lead time required to have direct deposit run, so staff are paid on the pay date. Payroll must often be submitted 2 to 4 business days prior to the pay date, so take into consideration weekends and holidays when processing payroll with direct deposit. Now, let me explain some of these required taxes in a little bit more detail. So, FICA taxes. This covers Social Security and Medicare. You withhold 6.2% for Social Security and 1.45% for Medicare from your employees' wages, and you match these amounts as the employer. The total amount remitted to the Treasury is 15.3%. Then there's state and federal income tax. And although this tax is not a tax you pay as the employer, you are responsible for withholding the correct amount from employees' wages and remitting to the IRS and state income tax agencies. Now, the amount withheld is based on how they claim on that W-4 form that they submit to you and what they're earning on their paycheck. Employee state and local taxes. Although, again, not a tax that you pay as the business, once again, you are mandated to collect taxes from employees that they are obligated to pay and remit to the proper tax agency. For instance, California has state disability and Indiana has county taxes. Federal, state, and unemployment taxes, also known as FUTA and SUI. Employers pay these taxes to fund unemployment benefits. There's usually a wage cap on each employee's wages. And some states have a FUTA credit reduction where they must pay additional FUTA tax because the states didn't pay back their federal loans on time. If you're doing your own payroll, be sure to check the Department of Labor website to see if your employees reside in a credit reduction state. If so, be sure to calculate the additional tax due. Some states also charge additional employer taxes, such as paid family leave. Quarterly tax filings. You'll need to file Form 941 every quarter and Form 940 annually to the Treasury. Each state also has their filings for income and unemployment taxes. There may also be additional returns you must file using payroll figures, such as the modified business tax return in Nevada. And don't forget those W-2s and 1099s at the end of the year. W-2s go to employees, and 1099s are for subject contractors who earn $600 or more. Now, to keep your payroll running smoothly and avoid penalties, here are some best practices. Stay up to date with payroll laws. Regulations change, so subscribe to the IRS and state labor department updates. Although most of the time laws go into effect in January, there have been laws that took effect during the year. Failing to follow labor laws could result in fines. It's also important to keep up to date on minimum wage increases. Again, many take effect in January, but there are some states that have them go into effect in the middle of the year. So always check where your employees are working and when those minimum wages are increasing. Keep organized payroll records. If the IRS or state agency audits you, good record keeping can save you. Keep your payroll records for at least 3 years, but ideally longer in case of an audit. And again, these forms could be your 941 quarterly income tax returns for your business tax returns for the IRS, your 940, your state returns, any paperwork that will support what you paid your employees and what you remitted for your taxes will be important. Now, you can conduct payroll audits to make sure that you're catching errors before they become big problems, but also note that your workers' compensation policy will also require an annual audit, so be prepared to provide the necessary documentation to them. And of course, get professional help if needed. Payroll mistakes can be costly. A payroll service or accountant can save you time and headaches. ABP offers full or self-service options to meet your specific needs. So if you would like assistance, be sure to reach out to us to find the best option for your situation. So what's the big takeaway? Payroll is more than just paying people. It's about compliance, taxes, and record keeping. Get it right from the start, and you'll save yourself stress and potential fines. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. And if you have questions or you need help with your payroll setup, reach out to us at 310-534-5577 or contact@abandp.com. We specialize in making payroll stress-free for small business owners. Thanks for tuning in to Biz Help for You. Have a great day. Thank you for tuning in today. Would you please share this episode with those you know and leave a review on your favorite platform? And if you find our show informative, would you consider being a financial sponsor to help me continue my mission to educate business owners? A link is located in the episode description, and no amount is too small. I'd really appreciate your support. If you are interested in connecting with our guest and receiving the offer they had to share, a link to our resource page is in the show notes. Finally, if you have any bookkeeping or payroll needs, reach out to us at 310-534-5577 or contact@abandp.com. My team and I are eager to assist you. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.